Good afternoon. Here is the midday news on OGBC. My name is Emmanuel. Adebanjo first, the major items. The federal government has approved new policy framework to strengthen domestic economy, just as it is emphasizing the importance of agriculture for achieving sustainable development. In Sri Lanka, leftist government faces its first electoral test with local polls. As part of efforts at strengthening Nigeria's domestic economy, prioritizing local industry and boosting the country's industrial transformation, the Federal Executive Council, presided over by President Bola Tinubu on Monday, approved a new policy framework tagged Renewed Hope Nigeria First Policy. Briefing newsmen after the meeting, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, described the policy as a major shift in the country's economic approach. According to him, the policy specifically focuses on accelerating industrialization, promoting manufacturing, and leveraging digital technology to enhance local production and reduce reliance on raw material exports. Meanwhile, the government at the center has directed the economic management team to chart a fresh path for Nigeria's economic future, targeting a medium-term growth rate of 7%. This next phase of the economic roadmap is expected to focus on unlocking rapid and sustained inclusive growth, anchored on a mix of fiscal discipline, investment incentives, and sector-specific interventions. Chairing the strategic session at the EMT at the Ministry of Finance in Abuja on Monday, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wadi Edo, led the discussion on key macroeconomic developments, recent reforms, and policy directions expected to shape the country's future. That agriculture remains one of the most effective tools for achieving sustainable development, as also recognized by the World Bank. The First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, stated this at the official launch of the Young Farmers Initiative and Every Home a Garden, Women in Agriculture, held in Abeokuta, represented by the wife of the Muslim governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun. Senator Oluremi noted that agriculture remains at a top priority in the state, especially given its proximity to key markets like Lagos and the expansion of agro-processing capacity, urging women and youth across the country to key into the Renewed Hope Agricultural Support Program, an initiative championed by Nigeria's First Lady, Mrs. Abiodun, emphasized that the program is designed to enhance food security, generate employment, and reduce poverty, all of which align with key sustainable development goals, particularly no poverty, zero hunger, and gender equality. The commandant of the National Defense College, Rear Admiral Ulumiwa Olotu, has said that effective synergy between relevant stakeholders at national and regional levels is crucial for combating terrorism financing. He noted that effective synergy is critical due to the complexities of the geopolitical, economic, cultural, and religious interconnectivity in West Africa, the Sahel region, and the entire continent. Rear Admiral Olotu said this on Monday at the inauguration of Countering the Financing of Terrorism and Regional Security Tasks by the NDC's Center for Strategic Research and Studies. According to him, research has shown that one of the most resilient enablers of terrorism is the complex and often clandestine network of financing mechanisms that fuse extremist recruitment, logistics, operations, and expansion. You are listening to the Midday News on OGBC 90.5 FM. Sri Lanka's leftist government faced its first electoral test with local polls this Tuesday since sweeping parliamentary and presidential votes last year as the country emerged from economic meltdown. President Anura Dissanayake urged voters to return all 339 local council bodies to a ruling National People's Party coalition, which enjoys a sweeping two-thirds majority in parliament. Mr. Dissanayake, who upset the more established political parties to win the September presidential election built on its popularity to secure the parliamentary vote held 2 months later. Since coming to power, Mr. Dissenyake, 56, has made a U-turn on his pledge to renegotiate the terms of the IMF bailout loan agreed by his predecessor and has maintained high tariffs. Russia says Ukraine has launched an overnight drone attack targeting Moscow for the second night in a row. All four of the capital's major airports were closed for several hours to ensure safety but later reopened. Moscow's mayor Mr. Sergei Sobyanin noted that at least 19 Ukrainian drones had been destroyed before they reached the city from different directions. He said some of the debris had landed on one of the key highways into the city, but there were no casualties. Ukraine has not yet commented, but the mayor of Kharkiv, Mr. Hyor Terikal, said Russia had also carried out drone strikes in the city overnight as well as in the Kiev area. A senior Hamas official has said there is no point in future talks on a new Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal after Israel said it will expand its ground offensive and occupy Gaza indefinitely. A Palestinian politician and Hamas official, Mr. Bassem Naim, said the Palestinian armed group would not engage with new proposals while Israel continued with what he called its starvation war. Israel says its objectives is the return of hostages still held by Hamas and its dismantling and decisive defeat. Israeli officials Monday laid out that the plan involved displacing the majority of Gaza's 2.1 million population, seizing all of the territory, and taking control of humanitarian aid after a 2-month blockade. Explosions have been heard in the Sudanese city of Port Sudan as a paramilitary force targeted the de facto capital of the country's military-led government for the third consecutive day. Thick black smoke could have been seen at dawn on the skyline of the previously safe city where thousands of people fleeing 2 years civilian war have sought refuge. According to a report, flights have been cancelled after drones hit the international airport and a hotel near the current presidential palace. On sports, European heavyweights Inter Milan and Barcelona were reconvened this Tuesday to conclude their Champions League semi-finals after last week's thrilling 3-3 draw in Spain. Having shared 6 goals in Spain, they will meet again for the second leg at San Siro, where Inter aiming to take one step closer to a fourth continental crown and Barca ultimately seeking their sixth. The Nerazzurri have won 9 of their last 11 home semi-final games in Europe, and another success would see the 2023 runner-up meet either Arsenal or PSG in their season's decider. A well-lubricated economy is an asset to the people, contributes to a strong economy for the country. To end the midday news, another look at major items. Briefing newsmen after the Federal Executive Council presided over by President Bola Tinubu on Monday. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, said a new policy framework targeted tagged Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy has been approved as part of efforts at strengthening Nigeria's domestic economy. Represented by the wife of the Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, at the official launch of the Young Farmers Initiative and Every Home a Garden, Women in Agriculture held in Abeokuta emphasized that agriculture remains one of the most effective tools for achieving sustainable development. He also urged that Sri Lanka's leftist government is facing its first electoral test with local polls this Tuesday since sweeping parliamentary and presidential votes last year. The Midday News was edited by Elizabeth Kuforidou cast from OGBC, Abeokuta for the latest news update. Visit our website at omoradio.ng. Follow us on Facebook at Omoradio Abeokuta and on X handle at OGBC 905. You can also listen to OGBC on the Radio